Alright, hello folks. We have one day until Election Day, and I figured let me just make one more personal plea to my fellow New Yorkers about the importance of voting and the importance of the issues that we are going to be facing if we face 4 more years of Andrew Cuomo. And I'm here actually just outside the Broadway Mall in this little park area. It's not really much of anything, but we have one day till Election Day. It's getting down to the wire. It's getting down to the wire, New York. We have a choice between more of the same, going down the same road with more disparity in our state. Certain neighborhoods just getting bums and homeless and illegals and criminals and ex-cons dumped in them, while other areas that happen to be of a certain white finance professional demographic are treated well and don't have those problems. So we have a choice between that or making some change and actually weeding out the corruption in this state. Andrew Cuomo is one of the most corrupt governors that we've ever faced in the state of New York. He has destroyed a lot of our quality of life. He may tout himself saying he's trying to save health care, he's trying to, save the environment, stand for mass transit. But here we are, the MTA is in a financial crisis. We are facing the possibility of years and years of fare hikes along with service cuts. And the governor is nowhere to be found. The Long Island Railroad has had its worst year on record. It's had its worst, the past couple of years in the Long Island Railroad when it comes to reliability have been terrible. And it doesn't have to do with the weather. It has to do with the way this governor runs this state. We have faced in the past 8 years some of the worst cuts to public transportation, particularly bus service here on Long Island, between what we faced here in Nassau County with the loss of so many bus routes, and Suffolk County, the loss of so many bus routes. Governor Cuomo looked on while Ed Mangano decided to ruin MTA Long Island Bus and kick MTA out and bring this TransDev in, and we've seen our service, not only cut but less reliable. And the MTA is now having some of the same problems Nice Bus is having. We're seeing Andy's Randomness has talked about this, and it's happening in the city. They're having the same issues with the buses there. They're not being maintained, they're breaking down, they're not being cleaned, and this is the disease that is being spread by our governor. All right, I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican. All right, I consider myself independent in a lot of ways. Andrew Cuomo has done a lot to harm people in this state. The only people that have benefited under him are the wealthy, these white finance professionals who have gotten richer and richer, while the rest of us are suffering with more and more problems. We've seen our taxes go up, and this is the end game that Cuomo, Laura Curran, Steve Ballone, or Steve Baloney, as some people call him, as well as the ones that are running, like Liuba Gretchen Shirley and Perry Gershon. These people want to raise your taxes, and they want to raise your taxes because it's part of the end game. By raising the taxes, they force more and more middle-class people out because they want to divide and conquer Long Island and much of the state into the haves and the have-nots. The middle class will be gone. All you'll have are these elitist rich people, these lily white, mostly finance professionals living in towns on the South Shore like Merrick, Belmore, and Wantaw, and Massapequa, while areas like Hicksville are going to get turned into ghettos. We're going to have more bums, we're going to have more crime, we're going to have more gangs. And you're going to see the same thing happen with the trains. They're going to get the good train service. They're going to get their stations, done right, where our stations are falling apart. The third track project, which is a great idea, it won't get done right. I fear it won't get done right, and we're going to have the same kind of corner cutting with the third track project that we've had with the Hicksville train station, and that's going to result in, even after all this is done and years of construction, there's still going to be better service on the Babylon branch than on the main line. We're still going to have jam-packed trains while they're sitting on a nice empty train with a empty seat next to them, in rush hour. All right, that's the way it is. The Babylon branch, they get to have empty trains, while most of us, especially here on the main line, are always crowded. And it's not just during the rush hour, it's crowded all the time. All right? Because we don't get enough service. We need much more service. And when the double track project was complete, we were promised half-hourly Ronkonkoma service. That hasn't happened. All right, I understand. Maybe there's a reason for that. Probably has to do with the mainline third track project that's going to now start taking place. That's kind of I kind of understand that point, I guess. But it still doesn't account for, there's certain things they could do right now, I feel, to improve service on the main line that they're not. And that's because, once again, for those who think Cuomo is not the problem, Cuomo has destroyed the MTA, all right? He has ruined the MTA because he has some very corrupt individuals on the MTA board. Most of them are corrupt. The only people up there that I do happen to like, generally there's only really one guy I like, and that's Mitch Pally. The rest of them, I don't care for, all right? I think there's one other guy, I forgot his name, that I like, but most of them I don't care for. They're representing those white finance professionals, and because of that, they're making sure to pressure Phil Eng, the Long Island Railroad president, and the people that run the MTA. You can't touch the Babylon branch, and they've said that. When I went, literally, I couldn't get it on camera because they wouldn't say it on camera. But when I went to that thing back in Adelphi, back in the spring, when I told them about reducing service on the when they were doing that Harold work to free up slots for mainline trains, they're like, we can't touch the Babylon branch because they're under orders from the higher-ups, our governor, and his Wall Street friends on the MTA board. They're under orders not to touch the Babylon branch, even though I think they get too much service. All right, sometimes I think they should get too much service, and I think if there are service cuts coming, they should be the ones to feel it, not the main line. All right, so we have this election coming up, and then we have the quality of life and the environment that Cuomo is not standing for. All right, Cuomo is not protecting the Pine Barrens. He's not doing enough to stop these developments from occurring. I've talked about this before. I'm not going to talk about it again. I've talked about it ad nauseum. He's been a terrible governor for the environment. He is under the past 8 years. We have had some of the greatest loss of Pine Barrens, some of the biggest projects, and some even bigger projects proposed, such as EPCAL, which is getting closer and closer and closer to happening. And the state isn't doing a damn thing to stop it. If this was in New Jersey, the DEP of New Jersey would say you can't do that. It's a sensitive area. You can't develop it. And EPCAL is in a sensitive area. You can't develop it. That's what they should be saying. And the same goes for the Hills of Quag. Again, who has control over the DEC? Who has control? Governor Cuomo. Again, because his friends on Wall Street stand to make a lot of money with these developments, that's what's going to happen. And Wall Street continues to do well, despite it's really just aggravating to see the stock market continue to go up constantly every week. Everything is getting overvalued. It drives up the home prices. They're trying to price us out. They want to get rid of the trees. They want to get rid of people like me. All right. I've spent my entire life here on Long Island, and I want to spend the rest of my life here on Long Island. And Governor Cuomo stands in the way of that. All right. The elitists stand in the way of that. They want to take away my transportation, all right? They want to take away my services, and they want to make life harder for people like me, so we leave. But I'm going to fight to stay right where I'm at, all right? Even if Cuomo gets reelected, I'm going to continue to talk about the environmental issues here, maybe not so much with the trains, because I'm just covering some of these other issues with the trains and the homeless, because we have this election coming up. But, if you want the regular train updates, you know who to tune to that. Matt Camper, Andy's Randomness, and, of course, MTA, Kevin, MTA Prodigy. But, I'm going to continue to talk about what's going on with the environment, because I'm tired of the destruction that's going on. And I'm going to continue to show you beautiful places in our Pine Barrens and in other natural places on Long Island, because we don't know how much longer they're going to last. But I'm hoping, maybe, some of my fellow New Yorkers will have some common sense and vote for Mark Molinaro. Mark Molinaro is really the true New York story, all right? He came from poverty and spent his entire life, once he became a teenager, once he got out of high school, serving the government, serving the people, all right? That's not something Andrew Cuomo has done, all right? Mark Molinaro has great ideas. He knows that the middle class is being taxed out, and we need to do something to reduce the tax burden on the middle class. He knows there's a tremendous amount of corruption in this state, and he has said, and I know he would, get rid of the entire MTA board and get a new MTA board in there, all right? And Joe Lhota needs to go too. Joe Lhota is terrible, all right? Cuomo is not going to do any of that, all right? He's not going to do any of that, all right? Only Mark Molinaro will. And then there's the mental health angle of it, the mental health services. Personally, I'm continuing to go through a struggle with my clinic they want to discharge me after being in treatment my whole life. And we're trying to find another clinic to go to. There aren't many other clinics to go to. There really aren't. And but I've spoken to some people who have relatives who have friends. I have my relative as a friend who is a very senior psychologist, and she has told him that they can't discharge me against my will. So I might be up with a legal battle against my clinic to keep therapy where I'm going, right? Because I don't want to have to change therapists, change psychiatrists, and the reason why is because all these drug addicts are getting put out of jail, and they're turning these mental health clinics into drug rehabs, and that's what's going on to a lot of them. So the people with mental illness get left behind to take care of these criminals that should be in jail. They should be in jail, all right? They shouldn't be out on the streets. Cuomo wants them out on the streets. Same thing with the homeless. He wants them out on the streets. He thinks it's okay for them to be out on the streets. Because as long as they're not out on the streets in his lily white finance professional neighborhood, it's perfectly fine. As long as they hang out 20 bums in Hicksville, he doesn't care. All right, let them deal with it. He told the police, hey, you can't, we care more about their rights. He cares more about their rights than the rights of Long Island Railroad passengers to have a safe, clean train station to use. All right? That's what he cares more about. The same kind of crap that's going on in New York City with the bums is happening out here. And I'm going to call them bums because they have been offered help and they have refused it. I have been told this from numerous sources. There are programs, there are shelters, there are programs, they refuse it. All right? And we have complete lawlessness. We have a governor that doesn't care because he doesn't have to, as long as his friends in the South Shore and Westchester and all the other rich, elite-white areas get to be safe, he could care less about what the poorer and darker skinned people have to go through. And he runs on claiming that he's all for race equality when he's actually dividing this state. All the minorities have to deal with this. The lily white areas are the ones that are taken care of. He's racist. He's taking care of his own people, his own kind. Just like Elisa Pica, the MTA board wants to keep Elisa Pica there because she represents this demographic. All right, this demographic that has had too much power in this state for far too long, and it needs to come to an end. All right, it needs to come to an end Tuesday. All right, now, that's the way I feel about it, all right? I love Long Island. I don't want to live anywhere else. I love visiting New Jersey. It is a beautiful place, but it is not home. It is not where I belong. There are a lot of things that would be very hard about living there. It's hotter there. The transportation is worse. You don't have the, well, let's just say romantic prospects that you have here on Long Island. There are a lot more, more kind of, I don't want to get into too much detail about that, but the kind of girls I like generally happen to be in New York and on Long Island. Like this girl that was getting off a very packed Ronkonkoma train, a very crowded Ronkonkoma train. A couple of years ago, this is early afternoon. This is what the Ronkonkoma lines deal with. A couple of summers ago, early afternoon, Ronkonkoma train eastbound at Hicksville. This cute girl is trying to escape this just disgustingly jammed train, and it's just symbolic of what people on the main line have to deal with. Meanwhile, a white girl that's sitting on the Babylon branch gets to have an empty seat next to herself. Because this is what's going on in this state. It's not right. It's not right at all. It's got to end. It's got to end. We've got to take a stand, and we can do it. I know there are a lot of snobs in this state, a lot of these finance professionals, but something, I see a lot of good people too when I was out there, a lot of good middle-class people of all races. We've got to come out, take a stand for Long Island, take a stand for New York, and say no to this tyranny. No more Andrew Cuomo. We've got to say no. I don't care what the polls say. I don't care what other commenters say on here saying he doesn't have a chance. Mark Molinaro, I don't care. I think he does have a chance. They were saying George Pataki didn't have a chance, and look what happened, all right? I really think Mark Molinaro can win if Long Island and upstate get out and vote. all right? You know, there are a lot of people in New York City, but you know what? There are a lot of people here too, and we can definitely make a change. And even if Mark Molinaro doesn't win, if we could at least make it a close election, that would make that would help a great deal, you know, because, you know, Long Island is a great place. We have problems, but there's no other place that I can think of that offers you the, you know, amenities of a city. You know, you have all these towns that you can go to. You have all these shopping centers. You have all these. You have the transportation network, Long Island Railroad. You have the Pine Barrens. You have this wilderness that's literally scattered all throughout Long Island. You know, even here in Nassau County. If you watch my Bethpage State Park video, all right, you have this wilderness that's beautiful. All right. We have our beautiful beaches. We have our climate, which I think is very good, all right? Sometimes maybe we had a lot of humidity this summer. You know what? It's a lot worse in Jersey. There are days here when it might be it's 82. In Jersey, it's 97. You know, I mean, and the humidity is higher there, you know, because they don't have that sea breeze that we get, you know. We are close to New York City. We have, you know, Long Island has different landscapes to offer. We have the Pine Barren, but we also have uplands, forests. We have beaches. We have all different ecosystems on this one island, which is pretty damn unique, you know. And we have all these different kinds of people here, too. Unfortunately, some people on the South Shore in those preppy areas would rather just be with their own kind because they're racist and they're afraid of people that look and dress different than them, which is a real shame. You know, but this is what I'm trying to say to you. Traditionally, a lot of Democratic voters traditionally tend to be minorities, and they seem to think that voting for a Democrat is going to help them. But when we take a look at what Cuomo and what a lot of Democrats have done by allowing illegals and criminals in, guess who's to deal with those illegals and criminals in the community? It's mostly minority communities, all right? So I want folks who are not white to think about this really deeply, because Cuomo is not out to help you. He's only out to hurt you, all right? He just wants your vote, and then he's going to screw you, all right? He's only looking out for his finance professionals. That's it. That's all he's looking out for. He's not looking out for Long Island, New York, the average New York. He's looking out for his kind, just like Elisa Pica, just like, you know, Liuba Gretchen Shirley. God help if she wins. I can't imagine her winning. Peter King has done a lot to serve Massapequa, but there are a lot of these preppy professionals coming out of Manhattan, moving into those areas. They're setting up their own little enclave to be with their own kind, and they're hoping to flip the district. Hopefully, a lot of the old timers in Massapequa, in the Seaford, I'm trying to think of the other towns in this district, Babylon, the people that have been there a long time, come out and vote and make sure Peter King gets reelected. All right, and the same goes for the East End. Lee Zeldin, another excellent person who's, you know, I know people have criticized him, but, you know, he's stood there for our environment. He stood there when the Army Corps of Engineers trying to dump crap offshore, all right? He said no, all right? He's trying to get environmental funding for us, all right? He stands for the rule of law. Perry Gershon, he just moved out here to run against him. He cares more about Manhattan because that's where he came from. This is Long Island, not Manhattan. All right, we have enough city people here already. All right, we have our own identity here. All right, you know, our laws must be enforced. We are a nation of laws, and I believe in electing candidates that support our laws. Once again, candidates who don't support our laws. Oh, the hazmat truck going down there. I don't know what that's about. I can't see it. It's over there. We need to live in a place where the law is supported. All right, and we need to live in a place where everybody's treated equally. Andrew Cuomo does not stand for that, all right? And we can forget about all that and just talk about his temperament during the debate, all right? Andrew Cuomo came off as a pompous bully, all right? He reminded me a lot of the former governor of New Jersey, Chris Christie, who I also happened to really dislike toward his last term, all right? We can't have politicians like this. We have to take a stand and say, we're not going to tolerate this anymore. All right, Long Island and New York are a great place. So many people are being forced away because either they can't afford it or because they can't deal with the quality of life problems anymore. We have to take a stand and say, no more of this. You know, if you love New York, you will go out on Election Day and vote for Mark Molinaro. All right? And you will make sure that the state Senate stays in the control of the Republicans. All right? Because if the Democrats get control of the state Senate, get ready for more of that money going into New York City and us getting screwed some more. All right? And, of course, last but not least, certainly not least, my own state senator, Elaine Phillips, has done an outstanding job. She's gotten involved trying to get legislation to stop the MTA from hiking the fares. All right? When I call her office, about the holes in Mineola, she had them fixed within a week or two. All right? She got results with the Long Island Railroad. She is going to hold them accountable. All right? Anna Kaplan, she's just going to be looking out. She's just going to be hanging out with Todd Kaminsky and making sure that the Babylon branch where all the stockbrokers live get taken care of when we get crap. All right? We've got to take a stand against the tyranny, New York. All right? And this is a personal plea because a Cuomo re-election is going to make my life more difficult. I want to stay right here on Long Island, right in Mineola. But a Cuomo re-election will mean I'm going to have to fight for my mental health even harder. I'm going to have to fight for the Pine Barrens harder. I'm going to have to fight for trying to get around harder because the transportation is going to continue to fall apart. And it's just going to get very discouraging. It's going to be very hard, and it just increases the possibility that I might have to wind up living in New Jersey, which I really don't want to do. Let me make it clear, I don't want to live in New Jersey. I haven't made that clear already a million times. I don't want to live in New Jersey. I prefer Long Island, all right? I've been fighting, this whole channel, I've been fighting for the Pine Barrens since I created this channel, and I'm going to continue to fight for the Pine Barrens. Even if the worst case scenario happens with all these elitists getting in, I'm going to continue to fight for the Pine Barrens. All right, we've got to take a stand and stop the overdevelopment of the Pine Barrens. All right, we need to save every tree, every acre of land, of natural space on Long Island. It's precious. All right, and that I'm going to continue to do, and I'm going to continue to show you the beautiful places on Long Island, and I want to continue to do that. But it's going to be pretty hard if I have to live in New Jersey. So that's going to be it for this video. My last personal plea to you all. Please go out and vote on Election Day, and please give everything I've said in this video really a deep thought. And check out my other videos about this subject as well. Even if you're a Democrat and you voted for nothing but Democrat your entire life, all right, you have to see that Cuomo, the Democratic Party shouldn't be about the rich. When I grew up, the Democratic Party was about the working class, the middle class, the environment, public transportation. They've lost their way, all right? And we need to send the Democratic Party message that we're not going to fall for their lies, all right, on Election Day. All right, so that's going to be it for this video. As the temperature starts dropping pretty rapidly after a fairly warm day, I can feel it starting to get cold here. So I want to thank you for watching, and let's pray for New York. Let's do what's right by New York. My friends, go out and vote. All right, we can do it. We can take back New York from these snobs. Thank you for watching.